7 signs men give before they cheat. In this video, I'm going to be giving you 7 signs that might indicate that he is going to cheat or has cheated already. And some of these things are things that women tend to overlook or they miss, even though they might be right in front of them. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Hey everybody, I am Kevin Anthony here for Magnetize Your Man, and I'm a certified sexologist, NLP practitioner, and sex, love, and relationship coach. And for over a decade, I have been helping men, women, and couples have the relationship of their dreams and the best sex of their lives. Okay, number 7. Your intuition tells you something is off. Probably should have made this the number 1 on the list, but I think one of women's superpowers is their intuition. I think it is far more powerful than most women realize, and I think that a lot of women tend to overlook it and say, well, that's I don't know why, that's just crazy. There's no proof of that. Especially if they really like a man and they really want to be with him, they'll tend to overlook a lot of the smaller signs, one of which is that sort of intuitive hit that something is going on. So my suggestion is, of course, listen to your intuition. Now that, of course, assumes that you have spent at least some time honing in, developing your intuition. This is a practice I often give to women clients that I have, because I have noticed over the years that a lot of women get these intuitive messages but don't actually listen to them. And one of the main reasons is they'll get an intuitive hit and then their conscious mind will sort of talk them out of it. Well, no, that can't be. And they'll over-rationalize it, right? And then they let the whole thing go. So one of the exercises that I often give to women is when you have an intuitive hit, try to remember it. And regardless of what action you take, later on, when you find out the outcome, make a note as to whether or not it lined up with the intuitive hit. So in other words, if you had an intuitive hit that he was going to cheat, and maybe you did something about it, had a conversation, maybe not, but then later on, you find out he did cheat, you make a little note like, oh, I knew that. I had that intuitive hit and I didn't listen to it, right? So you make a little note of that. And if you do that enough, you'll start to see the patterns. And generally, the pattern that emerges is that your intuition tends to be pretty right on. And so by doing that little exercise, it'll build confidence in trusting your intuition. All right, number 6. He is secretive with his phone and or social media. So he always makes sure that you can't see the screen, or, let's say you're out somewhere and maybe he's driving and you need to look something up like navigation or something on the phone, and he doesn't want to give you his phone, right? Because he doesn't want you in the phone potentially seeing things he doesn't want you to see. Same with his social media profiles. Maybe he doesn't want you in there to see who he's DMing or that sort of thing. So if you notice little things like that, it doesn't mean that he has cheated, although it could mean that. But it might mean that he's having conversations with people outside of your relationship that he doesn't want you to know about that could potentially lead to cheating down the road. Number 5, he is really vague and avoidant about what he's doing with his time when he's not with you. So he says, oh, what did you do today, right? Or what did you do yesterday? And then you get some sort of vague, wishy-washy answer that doesn't seem to make sense. And then you might ask a follow-up question and he blows it off or changes the subject or gives another wishy-washy answer. And that is another sign that he is potentially cheating, or he is, spending time on dating sites, or, meeting up with people. Maybe he hasn't technically cheated yet, but he's going out on dates and there's a potential there. So that's another possible sign. Number 4, he becomes really reactive and or starts to gaslight. So this tends to happen when you notice one of these things that we're talking about. You notice he's being secretive of his phone, or your intuition is telling you something and you want to bring it up. You want to ask questions. Now, you might do it directly, you might not. But if he starts to sense that you've got some sort of a clue, he might get really defensive, right? And really reactive. And a lot of times you might be thinking, well, why did he get so upset about that so quickly, right? And that's potentially a sign that something is going to happen. The other thing is, gaslighting, which is, you come to him with a concern, right, that maybe he's doing one of those other things. And then he basically tries to turn it around on you and make you think like you're crazy for ever having brought that up, or there's something wrong with you, or it's your fault in some way. So that's another sign that he is or is potentially going to cheat. All right, number 3, he lies and or omits information. I mean, lying is never good in a relationship ever, but some lies are more forgivable than others. But the thing is, you can see a pattern, right? So if there are lies about other things, it potentially is a sign that they're lying about more than just that one thing. So that's something to pay attention to. And the other one is simply just omitting information, right? So it's just failing to disclose certain things, places they've been, people they've been with, things that they were doing, sites that they were on. So those are some things that you can look for, that, there tends to be a pattern of lying about things that don't seem to make sense. And I was like, why would he lie about that, right? Or, why wouldn't he tell me about that? Why did he omit that particular piece of information? Number 2, he is interacting with you less than usual. So you start noticing that maybe he's pulling away, maybe he doesn't ask to spend time with you as frequently. These are signs that potentially he is investing time and energy somewhere else. Has he actually cheated yet? Maybe not, but it might be that he's, again, spending more time on dating sites or meeting up with people or just going out with his friends looking, for the next person. So, if you notice that all of a sudden, and for seemingly no reason, he's spending less and less time with you, that could be an indication. And then, of course, if that is the case, and then you happen to bring it up, like, hey, I noticed we haven't been spending much time together. If he gets reactive or defensive or vague or any of that kind of stuff, basically combining number 2 here with several of the other ones that I've talked about, then that is a pretty good sign. And the number 1 sign is there is less sex between the two of you, or possibly no sex at all. Now, one thing I will say is that lack of sex in a relationship is one of the things that will often lead people to cheat, both men and women. So if for some reason there are other things going on in your relationship and there hasn't been a whole lot of sex, this is definitely something that could potentially start to lean a man towards the direction of potentially cheating. But the other side of that coin is that it might actually be a sign of that as opposed to a symptom, right? So in other words, it might be that the reason why he's less sexually interested in you is because he is cheating outside of the relationship, or plans to, right? With somebody that maybe he's more attracted to or thinks he's more attracted to because it's new and different. But if you see, pretty pronounced shifts in the sexual connection between the two of you, that is potentially a sign. Now, there could be other reasons for that, right? So you got to look at the relationship as a whole. Just every time that, the sex starts to dwindle in a relationship doesn't mean that somebody's cheating, but it is a possible sign. So if you've looked at the other things in the relationship and you've kind of said, no, everything else seems to be, working okay, like we're not having any major fights or anything like that, then that is potentially a sign. Please make sure that you take our free polarity quiz at polarityquiz.com. And also, if you are looking for more information from me about my programs, my YouTube channel, my podcast, any of that, you can find that at kevinanthonycoaching.com/link in bio.